What is going on, pimps and players? It's your boy Namejamie, and today we are going over another juicy loot video. In this video, we are going to do loot from 500 Zulrah kills. I had only killed Zulrah once for a diary prior to this, so it was a learning journey for sure in this video. Also, this video is much longer than my normal video, so I went ahead and left timestamps down below in the description in case you only have a minute and just want to fast forward to certain points in the video. I do this myself sometimes with the long loot videos that people put out, so it's really no worries. But I suggest you watch the whole thing because I'm going to be talking about some pretty important things related to the video and just some helpful tips and tricks. The way this video is going to be structured is that I will go over my gear and stats now. Then I'll have 5 smaller clips, each with a price check at every 100 kills. So a clip at 100, 200, 300, 400, and finally 500 kills, each with their own loot tabs. This way you can check out where my biggest gains were, or you can compare your progress if you're killing Zulrah to mine. Finally, at the end, I'll set everything off and we'll talk about investing in gear for Zulrah and the cost of supplies. The footage you are seeing right now is filmed post the video because I realized I didn't have an inventory and gear clip, so I just threw all my gear on now. As you can see, I'm rocking a Serpentine helm, Occult necklace, Aram's top and bottoms, Trident of the Swamp, a Book of Darkness for the Mage bonus, Eternal Boots, and some random blessing. I have a 3-way switch with Blowpipe, Fury, and Accumulator, and in my inventory I use 13 sharks, 6 Quorum bombs, 2 prayer potions, 1 ranging pot, 1 magic potion, health teleports, and a Draenor staff to travel to and from. One other thing to note is that I have augury, but I do not have rigor yet, which made the kills a little more difficult, but nothing too bad. I found that every trip I was basically getting 2 if not 3 kills, and every hour I was getting anywhere between 15 to 20 kills depending on how fast and how fast I was and how much I was paying attention. Basically, one last thing to note too is that I have 97 range and 92 magic, so I'm not fully maxed, but I definitely have high stats for sure. Also, I'm going to show you real quick my supplies tab. Nothing really fancy. All I just have in there to refill this inventory is just ranging pots, prayer potions, Quorum bombs, and sharks. I ended up finishing with a bunch of supplies left over, so I'll make sure to subtract that from the end supplies and the cost when we tally everything up. The first few pictures I left in here are just back-to-back uniques I got, which were like 10 kills in. I thought they was pretty cool, and I made like 7 mil in like the first 10 kills, so I just threw them in there. And now, first, I want to talk about learning Zulrah while the 100 kill loot tab goes in the background. Zulrah, in my opinion, is actually one of the hardest pieces of solo PvM content. It actually took me a decent amount of time to learn, and it definitely involved a handful of deaths. I went ahead and linked a website down below that was super useful in learning Zulrah. I'm not like sponsored or anything by them, but this is personally just how I learned it. I found that watching videos online and trying to do it at the same time was actually a horrible way to learn it. And what's nice about this website compared to that is that you can just have this website up next to your client, and it allows you to track specifically which rotation Zulrah is going on. And that's really useful because it also just shows you where to stand and where you need to be for your next kills. But yeah, don't be discouraged if you're only averaging around 10 kills in the first few hours. It took me like 5 hours to finally get my average kill up to like 15-20 kills an hour, and I think by around 50 to 75 kills you probably wouldn't even need the website anymore, and I stopped using it at around 50, and I found the kills were a lot smoother when I stopped using it and like finally personally just like actually learned the cycles. Also, one more thing to note is that while learning Zulrah, the Serpentine helmet is super useful because it just causes you to take less damage and you don't have to bring up an anti-poison. But it's definitely not best in slot for damage or like best in slot at all for like any gear setup. I just personally use it because I just find it more of like a convenience thing. If you're trying to learn it Zulrah and you can't afford a Serpentine, a lot of people just learn Zulrah with like the Elite Void or like a Farseer helmet. You really don't need the Serpentine helmet. I just personally used it because I thought it was a lot easier. Also, another thing to note is that if you're using a setup similar to mine, which I would suggest because I thought it was super useful to learn it with this setup is that your magic phases, or your magic damage phases, which are going to be his range phase and his melee phase, are going to be your biggest damage phases by far. And the first phase where Zulrah originally appears, followed by the mage or the melee phase, which usually comes next, are definitely going to be the phases where you get the most damage in. But the best phase by far is the back-to-back range phases. And if you get that that phase rotation, you can definitely expect to get a 3-kill inventory, because you can usually kill Zulrah before Jad phase even occurs, which is where you're going to end up losing a majority of the food in any Zulrah fight. Lastly, one thing to note is that before every kill, I like to pot up. I know this really isn't efficient, like, pot-wise, but pots are so cheap that it's just, like, worth it, because the extra damage you get and the extra kills you get per hour. So I suggest that you use a pot every time you're killing him, even though it's really not going to give you the maximum amount of stat boost you could get. And after this, I just wanted to go into talking about the average loot, as we've gone over the loot tabs, and I'm just playing the last Zulrah kill on screen now. It seems on average I was always making around 10 to 11 mil in supply drops per 100 kills. In rares and uniques, on average, I want to say I was usually making around another 9 to 10 mil as well, meaning that most 100 kills I was making around 20 mil total. Although on kills between 300 and 400 and 400 and 500, I actually think I got rather unlucky, and I only got like 1 to 2 or maybe 3 unique drops, so I ended up totaling a little less than 100 mil, which was my goal for 500 kills. But yeah, it's still very good money, and it's nice to see that the supplies are so reliable when killing Zulrah, because that means regardless of your unique luck, you still should make a decent amount of money per 100 kills. Now, the reason I like Zulrah and don't mind that it's so rewarding, and actually think it should be a little more rewarding, is the amount of skill it takes and the gear requirements. Some things in the game currently, like Revenants, are hard to compete with GPU per hour wise, because they have so little requirements. All you need is a good range level, and you just need a toxic blowpipe, which is also very cheap nowadays. So it's nice to see that some high skill content, solo PvM content, still exists in the game and is still very rewarding. So talking about gear, I ended up spending a total of 40 mil on gear, which is super steep, I know, for a lot of regular players. But I would definitely say it's totally worth it, because you can usually sell a lot of your gear back at the end of the day for little to no loss, and you're still going to make all the profit of the kills, so it's definitely worth the investment. The gear breakdown price was around 17 mil for the Ring of Suffering, another 4 mil on the Serpentine Helm, 5 mil on the Aram's top and bottom, 4 mil on the staff, 4 mil on an uncharged pipe, and then 5 mil on internals. Now, first I want to talk about the consumable supplies that I used. I started with 7k sharks, and I used 3,863 of them for a total of 2.8 mil. I started with 3,000 Quambroms, and I used 1,689 of them for a total of 1 mil. I started with 250 range and magic pots, and I used 111 of both of them for a total of 150k combined. And I started with 400 prayer pots, and I used 245 of them for a total of 2.2 mil. So total and consumable supplies, I spent 6.1 mil. Now, there's also supplies you have to factor in for the gear. So, for instance, your blowpipe uses darts. I use adamant darts, and it also uses Zulrah scales. Your helm uses scales. Your ring uses ring of recoils, and the staff requires fire, death runes, chaos runes, and scales as well. So, in total, I spent about 1.5 mil filling up the pipe. I spent 4 mil filling up the helm twice. I spent 1.25 mil on filling up the Ring of Suffering, and then I spent 6.5 mil filling up the staff or the trident, because I found that I actually had to fill the trident every 100 kill or so it was 5 times that I filled that staff up. So total in gear consumables or supplies, I spent 13.5 mil total. So when you average those two things together, we get around 20 mil total in supplies cost, meaning that, as you'll see here at the end of my price check, I end up making about 85 mil profit, which again, as I said, is a little bit below that 100 mil mark that I was shooting for, but definitely not bad at all. So when you subtract that 20 mil in supplies, we end up getting 65 mil profit total, and that means that on average for 500 kills, I was making about 130k profit per kill, which is very, very good, and I guess that is why they ended up calling it the profit snake. Obviously, one last thing to keep in mind is that I was fast selling everything for this video, so I think I probably lost another couple mil in reduced prices, meaning that I probably should have made more like 87 to 90 mil total. But it is what it is. I didn't want to slow sell everything for the video, so yeah, I just lost that extra money, but it's just something to keep in mind. So that's going to be all for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed, and remember to like and subscribe, as it really does help. And also, feel free to leave a comment down below about your experience learning Zulrah, or what gear setups you've been using, or if you had some crazy unique luck that you want to share. I'm going to be releasing another video tomorrow, hopefully, about Vanilla WoW, and then another video later this week about old school RS stuff. So yeah, stay tuned and enjoy your day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. All right? Peace! Woo! I do it for